Welcome to JK Wisdom Beyond Time. This is a place where ancient wisdom meets modern psychology, where timeless philosophy meets everyday life, and where ideas that survived thousands of years help us solve the problems of the modern world. Today we begin with one of the oldest questions humanity has ever asked. Why does the human mind never seem to find peace? Have you ever noticed something strange? Finally achieved the goal you've been working toward for months, perhaps a promotion, a new car, a larger home, or even financial success. For a brief moment, you feel happy. But then, almost without realizing it, your mind begins searching again. A bigger goal, a better life, more recognition, more certainty, more happiness. It's as if the finish line keeps moving further away, and no matter how much we accomplish, our minds whisper the same message. Just one more thing, then you'll finally be at peace. Yet somehow, that moment never arrives. This isn't happening only to you. Millions of people around the world are experiencing the same invisible struggle. Despite living in the most technologically advanced period in human history, levels of stress, anxiety, loneliness, and emotional exhaustion continue to rise. We have more convenience than any previous generation, more information than ever before, more entertainment, more choices, and yet, many people feel less peaceful than ever. Why? Is something wrong with modern life? Is something wrong with our minds? Or have we simply forgotten a truth that earlier civilizations deeply understood? Modern psychology has spent decades trying to answer these questions. Neuroscientists have studied the brain. Behavioral psychologists have explored human motivation. Researchers have examined why satisfaction fades so quickly after success. Surprisingly, many of their discoveries point toward a conclusion that ancient philosophers, Buddhist teachers, and wise thinkers recognized thousands of years ago. Perhaps the problem is not that peace is impossible. Perhaps we have been searching for it in the wrong place. In this documentary, we'll explore what modern psychology has discovered about the restless human mind, what ancient wisdom understood long before modern science existed, and, most importantly, the 7 timeless principles you can begin applying today to build a calmer, clearer, and more meaningful life. Because peace is not something you accidentally find, it is something you deliberately practice. Imagine waking up tomorrow with everything you've ever wanted: a successful career, financial freedom, the perfect home, recognition from others, good health. Every material goal you've been chasing suddenly becomes reality. Now ask yourself one question. Would your mind remain peaceful forever? Modern psychology gives a surprising answer. Probably not. Not because happiness is impossible, but because the human brain was never designed to stay satisfied for very long. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on constantly searching for something better. More food, safer shelter, stronger relationships, greater security. The people who kept improving their chances of survival were more likely to live and pass on their genes. That ancient survival system still exists inside every one of us. Only today, instead of searching for food, we search for notifications. Instead of searching for safety, we search for validation. Instead of protecting ourselves from predators, we compare ourselves to strangers on social media. The environment has changed, but the brain has not. Modern neuroscience has identified one of the key chemicals involved in this process: dopamine. Many people believe dopamine is the happiness chemical. It isn't. Dopamine is better understood as the brain's motivation and anticipation system. It pushes you toward the next reward. It says, keep going. Maybe the next achievement will finally make you happy. This is incredibly useful for progress. It helps us learn. It helps us build businesses. It helps us solve difficult problems. But without awareness, the same system can trap us in an endless cycle of wanting more. Psychologists also describe another powerful pattern known as hedonic adaptation. In simple words, human beings quickly become accustomed to improvements. The phone that once felt exciting becomes ordinary. The promotion that once felt life-changing becomes your new normal. The dream house slowly becomes just another house. The excitement fades not because the achievement was meaningless, but because the brain naturally resets its expectations. Then the search begins again. Another goal, another purchase, another milestone, another promise that this time, peace will finally arrive. Social media amplifies this cycle. Every day we are exposed to carefully edited highlights of thousands of lives. Someone is traveling. Someone bought a new car. Someone launched a business. Someone appears happier, wealthier, healthier, more successful. Without realizing it, our brain starts making comparisons all day long, and comparison quietly steals contentment. Research in psychology repeatedly shows that people don't evaluate success in isolation. They often evaluate it relative to those around them. That is why someone earning far more than they imagined 10 years ago can still feel unsuccessful if everyone they compare themselves to appears to have even more. The problem is no longer reality. The problem becomes perception. And when the mind constantly jumps between yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's expectations, it rarely experiences the only place where peace actually exists: the present moment. Modern psychology has become remarkably good at explaining why the mind behaves this way. But thousands of years before brain scans, neuroscience laboratories, or psychological research existed, there were teachers, philosophers, and seekers who had already begun asking a deeper question. If the mind is naturally restless, can it ever be trained to become peaceful? The answer they discovered would survive for more than 2,000 years, and it remains just as relevant in today's digital world. What ancient wisdom already knew. Long before neuroscience laboratories, brain imaging technology, or modern psychology existed, there were people who dedicated their entire lives to understanding one question: why does the human mind suffer? They had no MRI machines, no scientific journals, no psychological theories. Yet, through careful observation of human behavior, they discovered patterns that continue to surprise modern researchers today. More than 2,500 years ago, a prince named Siddhartha Gautama walked away from a life of luxury in search of a deeper truth. He wasn't searching for more wealth, more power, or more comfort. He wanted to understand why human beings continue to suffer, even when they have everything they thought they wanted. After years of observation and contemplation, he reached a conclusion that would influence millions of people for centuries. Much of our suffering does not come from the world itself. It comes from the mind's constant attachment to what it wants, and its resistance to what it cannot control. Notice how closely this mirrors what modern psychology tells us today. Our brains continuously chase the next reward. We quickly adapt to success. We compare ourselves with others. We cling to pleasant experiences and resist uncomfortable ones. The language is different, but the pattern is remarkably similar. Around the same period, ancient Indian wisdom also emphasized another profound idea. A restless mind cannot clearly see reality. When the mind is filled with endless desire, fear, comparison, anger, or anxiety, it becomes like the surface of a lake during a storm. No matter how beautiful the sky is, the water cannot reflect it clearly. Only when the water becomes still does everything appear as it truly is. Thousands of miles away, the Stoic philosophers of ancient Greece and Rome arrived at a similar understanding. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote in his private journal that our lives are shaped less by external events and more by the judgments we attach to them. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic teachers, explained it even more directly. It is not events themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Modern psychology calls this cognitive appraisal, the idea that our interpretation of an event often has a greater emotional impact than the event itself. Different civilizations, different languages, different cultures, yet they were all pointing toward the same truth. The greatest battlefield is not outside us, it is within the human mind. Perhaps the most fascinating discovery is that none of these ancient traditions promised a life without challenges. They never claimed that pain, uncertainty, loss, or disappointment could be eliminated. Instead, they taught something far more practical. Peace is not the absence of difficulty. Peace is the ability to remain steady while difficulty is present. That idea is incredibly relevant today. Our modern world encourages constant stimulation. Every notification demands attention. Every advertisement promises happiness. Every comparison creates another desire. The mind is constantly pulled outward. Ancient wisdom invites us to do the opposite, to pause, to observe, to understand. Not because the world is unimportant, but because without understanding our own minds, no achievement, no possession, and no success can ever produce lasting peace. So, the question is no longer, why is my mind restless? The better question becomes, how do I train my mind differently? Across centuries of philosophy, psychology, and contemplative practice, a remarkably consistent answer begins to emerge. It can be summarized into 7 timeless principles, simple in appearance, yet powerful enough to transform the way we experience everyday life. And unlike abstract philosophy, these principles can be practiced by anyone, regardless of age, profession, culture, or belief. Let's explore them one by one. The 7 timeless principles for inner peace. Understanding the mind is only the beginning. Real transformation happens when wisdom becomes practice. Across modern psychology, neuroscience, Stoicism, Buddhism, and ancient Indian philosophy, certain principles appear again and again. Different civilizations describe them in different ways, but they all point toward the same destination, a calmer, stronger, and more peaceful mind. Here are 7 timeless principles you can begin practicing today. Principle 1, control your attention before it controls you. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Every notification, every breaking news alert, every endless scroll competes for one thing: your awareness. Modern neuroscience tells us that constant interruptions increase mental fatigue and reduce our ability to think deeply. Ancient wisdom understood this long before smartphones existed. The mind follows whatever it repeatedly pays attention to. If your attention is scattered, your life eventually becomes scattered too. Today's practice: spend just 30 minutes every day without social media, notifications, or unnecessary distractions. Train your attention instead of allowing technology to train it for you. Principle 2, reduce unnecessary desire. There is nothing wrong with ambition. The problem begins when happiness becomes dependent on the next achievement. Modern psychology calls this the hedonic treadmill. Ancient Buddhism described it as attachment. Stoic philosophy warned against becoming a servant of external rewards. The lesson is simple: own your goals, but don't allow your peace to depend on reaching them. Today's practice: before buying something or chasing another milestone, ask yourself, will this truly improve my life 1 year from now? Or am I simply chasing temporary excitement? Principle 3, learn to observe your thoughts. One of the greatest mistakes we make is believing every thought that appears in our minds. Not every fear is reality. Not every worry is truth. Psychologists call this cognitive distancing. Ancient meditation traditions simply called it awareness. The moment you observe a thought, instead of automatically reacting to it, you create freedom. You are no longer controlled by every emotion that passes through your mind. Today's practice: whenever anxiety appears, don't immediately fight it. Simply pause and ask, what am I thinking right now? Sometimes awareness alone begins to reduce the mind's intensity. Principle 4, accept what you cannot control. Much of human stress comes from trying to control things that were never ours to control. Other people's opinions, the past, the future, the economy, the weather. Stoic philosophers divided life into 2 simple categories: what is within your control and what is not. The more energy you invest in the second category, the less peace you experience. Today's practice: whenever stress appears, write 2 columns, one titled "Within my control," the other "Outside my control." Then commit your energy only to the first list. Principle 5, practice stillness. Every day, the modern world rewards speed.
Ancient wisdom valued stillness.
Not because action is unimportant, but because clear action begins with a clear mind. Silence allows the brain to recover. Reflection allows better decisions. Stillness creates space between stimulus and response. That space is where wisdom lives. Today's practice: spend 10 minutes every day sitting without music, podcasts, or your phone. No goal, no performance, just observation. many people discover that the peace they were searching for was hidden beneath constant noise. Principle 6. Choose growth over comparison. Comparison convinces us that someone else's success diminishes our own. It doesn't. Psychology shows that constant comparison lowers satisfaction and increases anxiety. Ancient teachers reminded us that every individual walks a different path. Your only meaningful comparison is with the person you were yesterday. Today's practice. Instead of asking, "Am I ahead of others?" ask, "Am I becoming wiser than I was last year?" That question changes everything. Principle 7. Build a life bigger than yourself. Perhaps the deepest lesson shared across nearly every great philosophical tradition is this: a life centered only on personal achievement eventually feels empty. Lasting fulfillment grows when we contribute to something beyond ourselves: our family, our community, knowledge, service, purpose. Modern psychology increasingly supports this idea. People with a strong sense of meaning often remain emotionally resilient even during difficult times. Ancient wisdom simply expressed it differently. When life becomes an act of contribution rather than constant consumption, peace naturally follows. Today's practice. Every morning, ask yourself one simple question: whose life will become slightly better today because I exist? Even the smallest act of kindness can quietly reshape the direction of your own mind. None of these 7 principles promise a life without pain. Life will still bring uncertainty, loss, failure, disappointment, but they offer something far more valuable: a way of meeting life's challenges with greater clarity, greater strength, and greater inner peace. And perhaps that is what true wisdom has always been. Not escaping reality, but learning how to walk through it with an undisturbed mind. Knowledge has very little power until it changes the way we live. Many people watch documentaries, read books, listen to podcasts, collect ideas, but their lives remain exactly the same. Not because the knowledge was wrong, but because wisdom was never translated into daily action. The truth is, inner peace is not built during extraordinary moments. It is built through ordinary decisions repeated every single day. Imagine 2 people waking up on the same Monday morning. Both have demanding jobs. Both face financial responsibilities. Both receive stressful emails before breakfast. Both are surrounded by the same fast-moving world. Yet by the end of the day, one feels emotionally exhausted, while the other remains calm, focused, and mentally clear. What makes the difference? Not intelligence, not income, not luck. The difference is how each person responds to life. Let's see what these 7 principles might look like in practice. When you wake up in the morning, don't let your phone become the first thing that captures your attention. Spend the first few minutes in silence. Allow your own thoughts to arrive before the world tells you what to think. During work, practice giving your full attention to one meaningful task, instead of constantly switching between notifications, messages, and distractions. The quality of your attention eventually becomes the quality of your life. When you notice yourself comparing your progress to someone else's success online, pause for a moment. Remember that social media often shows the highlight reel, not the complete story. Your journey has a different timeline. Your growth has a different purpose. When unexpected problems appear, and they always will, ask yourself one simple question: is this within my control? If the answer is yes, take action. If the answer is no, practice acceptance instead of endless worry. Acceptance is not weakness. It is intelligent use of emotional energy. At the end of each day, spend 5 quiet minutes reflecting, not judging yourself, not criticizing yourself, simply observing. What disturbed your peace today? Why did it happen? What can you do differently tomorrow? This small habit gradually trains the mind to become more aware instead of more reactive. And finally, before going to sleep, ask yourself one question that ancient teachers, philosophers, and modern psychologists would all appreciate. Did I live today according to my values or according to my impulses? That question has the power to change a life. Because peace is not created by avoiding the world. It is created by learning how to move through the world with wisdom. The world around you may continue to become faster. Technology will continue to evolve. New distractions will appear. New challenges will emerge, but the human mind will continue searching for exactly what it has always searched for: clarity, purpose, and peace. Perhaps that is why wisdom that is thousands of years old still speaks so clearly to people living in the 21st century. Human civilization has changed dramatically. Human nature has not. The tools are different, the struggle is the same, and so is the solution. The journey toward inner peace does not begin with changing the world. It begins with changing the relationship you have with your own mind. That is where every meaningful transformation starts. Chapter 6. Final Reflection. Perhaps the greatest misconception of modern life is that peace is something waiting for us in the future. We tell ourselves, "I'll finally be at peace when I earn more, when my career is stable, when people appreciate me, when life becomes easier." But history tells a very different story. Kings possessed kingdoms and still felt restless. Philosophers owned almost nothing and yet lived with remarkable calm. The difference was never found in what they owned. It was found in how they trained their minds. Modern psychology now confirms what ancient wisdom quietly taught for thousands of years. Our minds naturally chase the next reward. They compare, they worry, they replay the past, they imagine uncertain futures. None of this makes us weak. It simply makes us human. The question is not whether your mind will wander. The question is whether you will learn to guide it. Peace is not the absence of ambition. You can still dream. You can still build. You can still create. You can still become successful. But success becomes far more meaningful when it is guided by wisdom instead of endless craving. Perhaps the goal of life is not to escape every challenge. Perhaps the goal is to develop a mind that remains steady even while challenges continue to exist. Because when the mind becomes calm, our decisions become wiser, our relationships become healthier, our work becomes more meaningful, and our lives become richer in ways that money alone can never provide. As you leave today's documentary, I invite you to carry just one question with you. What is the one thought, the one habit, or the one unnecessary desire that has been quietly stealing your peace? Don't try to change your entire life tomorrow. Choose just one of the 7 principles we explored today. Practice it consistently for the next 7 days. Observe your mind. Notice what changes. Real transformation rarely happens through one extraordinary moment. It happens through small, intentional choices repeated over time. That is how wisdom becomes character, and character becomes destiny. Thank you for spending these moments with JK Wisdom Beyond Time. If today's journey gave you a new way of understanding your own mind, consider subscribing and becoming part of a community dedicated to timeless wisdom, modern psychology, and practical ideas for living a more meaningful life. Every week, we'll explore the insights of great philosophers, ancient traditions, modern science, and the human mind, not simply to gain more knowledge, but to become wiser in the way we live. Because the greatest discoveries are not always found in the outside world. Sometimes, they have been waiting quietly within us all along. Until next time, keep learning, keep reflecting, and remember, wisdom may be ancient, but its power is timeless.